Hello there, this is Business Center. My name is Kelvin Nyakundi. Now, coffee was introduced in Kenya in 1893 when missionaries imported Bourbon coffee from Brazil. It was first grown at Bura in Taita Hills, then under irrigation at Kibwezi in 1900 and at Kikuyu in 1904. Today, around 250,000 Kenyans are employed in the production of coffee. Most is produced by small landholders that are members of cooperatives that process their own coffee. Still, even with this, Kenya Coffee's specialty status, Kenya coffee farmers still remain among the poorest in the world. Now, today we shall be talking about coffee farming and what you need to be on the lookout as a farmer. That is coming next. But first, here is our question of the day, where we are asking you, what type of coffee do you think is grown in Kenya? What type of coffee do you think is grown in Kenya? And as we go for a short break, might I remind you, later on we'll have Duncan, who is going to be talking to us more about what we are talking about today, and stick around for that. Welcome back. This is Business Center, and we are talking about the coffee export industry in the country, and we are joined by Duncan Bushuru. He is here to talk about more on this, on specialty coffee, and he's going to also delve into the export industry of coffee in the country. Now, welcome to the show, Duncan.
Thank you, Mr. Kevin, for having me.
All right. Now, let's get right into this. Let's talk about the export industry in the country. How has it been?
Well, the Kenya coffee export, especially in line with the COVID-19 pandemic, has really faced a big decline compared to the previous coffee seasons. For instance, we've seen that one with the maritime, the time taken between the point of loading to the point of departure, it has been longer, and even the clearance time when handling the goods because of the different restrictions according to the COVID-19 protocols. So this has increased the cost of doing business. Maybe I can also discuss about now with climate change, especially what happened in Brazil, being the biggest producer of coffee. They experienced a black frost which reduced their production by more than 40%. So with global demand, especially now with Kenyan coffee, it made the prices to shoot. So most of the buyers or importers tried to avoid trading with Kenyan coffee and looking for alternative countries along the region.
Mm-hmm. And now with the ban on flights to the country and out of the country, there's a time last year that happened, and now they resumed this year. Some of the countries resumed. How has that improved the way we do our coffee business?
Well, the suspension of international flights, for us, it's a good thing, because main coffee harvest in Kenya is mainly between October to December. So this is a time where we invite most of the coffee buyers to actually come to Kenya to actually review the coffee quality. So I think for us it's timely, so that at least come next year's coffee season, we believe we'll be back in business.
Mm-hmm. And now, what are some of the factors influencing the export industry of coffee in Kenya? What are some of the factors influencing the development of this export industry?
Kenyan coffee is notably highly sought after because of its quality. Right. So over time, despite the fact that we have all these challenges, but the quality, I believe Kenyan coffee is still at the helm. Mm-hmm. So quality it is.
And what do you think makes Kenyan coffee most sought after? What is it that makes that quality peculiar?
So one is the environmental factors. We have very rich volcanic good soils, especially from the Central Highlands. And also we have a very good potential in terms of new areas coming up from Western region, cutting across through to the Kisii. So the soils, I think we are very magical soils. Right. And number two also is the weather, especially on the rainfall. The ideal rainfall required in Kenya, I think, putting in mind the long rains, which happens between March, April, May. So I think all these are factors that are really pushing for. And also The cultivated varieties. The traditional ones, what we call the SL28, they are really highly sought after. They have very rich aromas and rich flavors. And now I think we have these hybrid varieties that are more resistant, and also production-wise, in terms of yield also it's very good. So it's a combination of multiple factors.
Okay. And now, this Kenyan coffee that is so good, how do you make sure that the value that is exported is the same that as the one that is distributed in the country? Because you find that products maybe like tea, sometimes you find that the value that is exported is more finer and the particles are more finer, and people may say it's more bougie than the one that is distributed in the country. So how about coffee? How is it done?
Maybe I'll comment as Connect Coffee. As a specialty coffee exporter, we decided also to extend the same experience we share with our importers, also domestically. So what we do when we get our samples that we export, we make sure the same experience is what we give to our clients. So one, we operate specialty coffee outlets, whereby we spend a lot of time to sensitize consumers how to identify between good, bad, and even old coffee. So by this kind of investment in our specialty coffee shops, I believe consumers are able now to know locally that this is what people enjoy about Kenyan coffee when they're overseas.
Mm-hmm. Now, as now you've talked about Connect Coffee, as a company, how do you explore your target market? Like, how do you know this is what our target market is? How is that process?
So
in order for you to make sure that maybe you deliver what they need.
So what we've been doing, we've done a lot of investment. One in human capital. So we have a team of experts that's all the way from the agronomists, who work hand in hand with the farmers, from establishment through to management to post-handling. And also we have a youth training academy. This is where we empower our trainees on the best practices of coffee. And also we've invested in premium coffee machines that our importers also use. So we're able to sample using this, all these, let me call them areas, that is the trainees on the farms. We have a training center, and we also have a testing lab where we evaluate the coffee in terms of quality, in terms of aroma before we ship, and also we test it in terms of the final cup using the premium high-end machines.
Mm-hmm. So, for example, you now sell coffee to the market. How do you make sure that you capture the person who is buying this so that they don't look at any other products?
Well, our strategy is very simple, because we believe that as a brand, people might be out there wanting to imitate us. So what we keep on doing is to improve the customer's coffee experience. From the time you visit any of our outlets, you are given an opportunity to actually choose your blend. So we have our own in-house signature blend, the Romeo and Juliet. We give you a chance to actually choose also the equipment of extraction. So besides the normal espresso-based coffee, you can also be able to choose a filter type of coffee. One coming from either the Far East, another one from Europe, another one from the Americas. So this helps you to actually enjoy premium quality coffee using different equipments from different continents. We're also able to get a coffee tour experience. This also helps you to actually have the experience to be memorable. And to call it a short, we also get a chance to experience the roasting. So the on-site experience gives you, as a consumer, confidence in terms of traceability and transparency of the process.
And now let's get back to this export industry in the country. And recently, the fuel prices hiked. How is this going to affect the coffee industry going forward now?
Even before the fuel prices, the costs were already high. One of the areas that will really be affected is operation costs. That is the cost of collecting the produce directly from the farmer to the factories. Another cost is how do we handle also when we're doing now value addition, because we have to tap into the energy line, and also when from the point of loading to the point of discharge at the port. So all these costs need to be translated. They're actually translated down to the exporter or even to the farmer. So I think there needs to be a review, and I'm glad that the president mentioned about the revision up to, I think, 33%. So I think that is a good call.
Okay, now, for example, let's say the pandemic, the way it came and affected everything, how do you see this industry resuscitating itself? Maybe, for example, in the next 1 year. What do you think will happen? Will we go back to where it was? Or what do you think will happen to this industry?
I think the coffee export, especially Kenyan coffee, we need to find our niche. Because I think the COVID has been an eye-opener. That, well, we have good quality coffee, but how competitive is it compared to other producing countries? So I think this calls for independent stakeholders, like a holistic approach between independent stakeholders, the government, and other private sectors, to actually now re-strategize. How can we adapt moving forward? So I hope that we can have more or less additional forums for us to review the way forward.
And can you say that the Kenyan industry, the Kenyan coffee export industry, can try and look at countries or markets where we've not tapped into? Are there markets out there that maybe we've not tapped into that can be tapped into in order to make sure that we really sustain this industry?
I think one thing can be trying to promote domestic coffee consumption, because we've realized that with COVID, the markets out there, they can actually do away without, they can do without Kenyan coffee. So if we can start promoting domestic consumption, well and good. I think we have also trade blocks like East Africa Community, like COMESA. I think it's a high time now we start looking at intra-African trade. So how about, selling Kenyan coffee to Ghana, and then Ghana selling us cocoa, because now we have the capacity to do value addition. So I believe it's high time now to explore those kind of avenues.
And because you've spoken about intra-Africa trade, how is our business? How is our coffee business with Tanzania? How is our coffee business with Uganda? How is it? How is the market?
Well, unfortunately, we are both coffee producers. So you find there is a conflict of interest. But I think maybe it's a high time we look at, maybe we can now do joint blending, so that we tap into the different, the varietals that they have. Otherwise, as we speak now, each market tries to protect their own farmers and its own communities. So there's not much trading of the same product going.
All right, so for example, can you say that the same quality of coffee that we have in Kenya is the same that is in Uganda or Tanzania, or what are some of the varieties that these countries can have in order to make sure that maybe when they come together, they can really make sure that they grow and sell it outside?
Each of these countries has their own signature kind of characteristics. And as I mentioned, geography or environmental factors, they vary. Ethiopia is well elevated, more than any of the other countries. So you find the maturity there, it's different, giving rise to different kind of coffee. So we are all unique in our own measure. So I think it's about reviewing how can we coexist. Even if we allow, in terms of trade volumes, what is the market share that we can allow Ethiopian coffee to come to Kenya, and what potential, what kind of market share should we allow Kenyan coffee to venture into Ethiopia, so that to bring in a blend. It's a way of celebrating our own, celebrating Africa.
And now, you as Connect Coffee, you are in Kenya. So how is the distribution in the country of Connect Coffee? How is the distribution in the country?
I can say actually in Africa now our footprint has expanded now to Africa. So in Kenya we have 3 main outlets, the flagship one being at the Chiromo in Westlands. We also have the Gigiri along the UN Junction, We also have the Sanlam Towers just before the ABC. And lately we also opened in Juba, Connect Coffee Juba in South Sudan. So we hoping that now we can transfer, Kenyan coffee. So we are trying to lead by example. That well, also because South Sudan also produces coffee on the southern bit.
Yeah.
So I believe also trying to understand how best can we, but through that specialty coffee wave. Yes, so we're using that space to sensitize consumers, helping them also to consume coffee at home with different solutions. Yeah, but also trying to create a community around coffee.
And your product, can you say it is able to be accessed? I believe that if you want it to be distributed in the country, you'll have it maybe on supermarket shelves. What does it take in order to make sure that maybe your product is in these other shops, these other outlets, the supermarkets? How is that process?
At the moment, we are a micro roastery, which means that our production volume is not that high. So for you to enjoy our coffee, we have an e-cart system on our website. So you can actually just place an order and then we can do the deliveries. We also have a subscription program. You can either choose a monthly, a bi-weekly, or a quarterly. So we deliver, each time we deliver a new experience. We hope in the near future, when now we've scaled up enough to be able now to meet now the demand of hypermarket or supermarkets. But in the meantime, you can just find it on our website, connectcoffee.net.
And now for the farmers who you partner with in order for them to supply you with the beans, how is this process between you and them? And now when maybe you're distributing it to your other branches, how is it?
Well, Connect Coffee itself is a social business. So it means we trade for the benefit of coffee communities that we work with. And these communities are basically the smallholder farmer and the selected cooperatives within specific areas. So our trade model, we call it direct trade, whereby as a licensed green dealer, we're able actually to purchase directly, provided we able to pay above the reserve prices on the auction. So after identifying the potential farmers, we agree to support you from soil analysis, best practices, and also supporting you in terms of input with very minimal interests. So as long as the farmer also prioritizes also to sell it to us. But the catch is, we're able to give you, we're able to pay above the market prices. So that is how we've been there since 2016. Started with Kiambu, moved now all the way now to Embu, whereby we have even youths being now tapped into the value chain. So they formed youth groups. They're able now to rent out abandoned coffee plots. And we're hoping that in our export plan, we can give them a little bit of shares, market shares to also sell their coffee.
Now, as we about to conclude, I'm really, I think I need to ask this. For example, maybe someone from outside the country tastes the Connect Coffee product, and then they say, okay, now I want to come and you can bring this to our country, and then we do business together. How is that process to you? And what do you usually do when maybe you've had those proposals before? So what do you do in this case when someone comes with such a recommendation?
So one, I think first, Connect Coffee is your destination. When you're looking for the best coffee in Kenya, Connect Coffee it is. I think anyone who is coming in as a tourist or as a businessman, after doing your Mara trip, I know the other thing that you want to get along or get away with is good coffee. So we are really open to such kind of business proposals. So you come in, we take you to what you call an origin farm trip. We take you to the farms, able to meet the farmers, see how they manage. We get some samples, and then we test together if you're interested now, and then we get into a commitment. So that's how flexible we are.
All right, and now finally, as we conclude, for example, how was this concept of Connect Coffee created? Like, who just decided to come up and say, now I want to start this? How did it start?
So Connect Coffee's concept was coined by, it's a family business, by one Mr. Dongming or Chris Wang and the wife, Mrs. Yoon Sung Park. They are both from Republic of Korea. So as importers, they always wanted to understand the whole process. And for them, coming closer to the origin of the producers was the only way to understand and to improve the value chain. So up to now, I believe they've been able to grow a one-stop coffee solution. What at home here we call Huduma Kenya. So we are the Huduma Kenya for kahawa, because this is where you're able to get partner farmers. If you're planning to learn more about coffee, we have a training school. If you want to open up a coffee business, we have coffee equipments and accessories. And even if you want now to trade overseas, we are licensed dealers at call. So I think that was the journey, and we're still going strong.
All right. All right, this has been a really, really great conversation to have, and to just know how the export market of coffee in the country is doing, and what as Connect Coffee they are doing in order to make sure that they sustain themselves in the country and they make their name in the country. And this has been like a very nice conversation. And Duncan, thank you so much for coming to the show. We'll definitely have you again. And you said this is the place to be, right? Connect Coffee is the place to be. It's the Huduma for coffee in Kenya, right?
Each sip counts.
Each sip counts. I can't forget that one. This is the Huduma for coffee in Kenya, and this has been the segment where we talk about how the export market in the industry has been, and that's all we had for you, and we're going to go for a short break, but we'll be right back with innovations and agri-facts. Do not touch that dial.